Hey guys, how's it going? So I recently got an idea from a friend of walking through essentially all the basics of photo processing and with Lightroom and Photoshop, as well as the basics of each system. So I figured I'd do that now. Most of my previous tutorials are set up for a user of Photoshop that is decently experienced in Photoshop, and as you can tell, probably, I go decently fast. So also what I want to show with this is that in order to use Photoshop, you don't need to have any people in the shot, you don't need a specific photo. Any photo can benefit from the tools in Photoshop. So for this, I'm using one of my favorite shots that I've taken to date. Took this a few weeks ago with the lightning over the pier over Lake Michigan. It was pretty much the perfect storm, didn't really get rained on. Luckily I left at the right time. But anyway, so with this image, I took a long exposure, lower ISO, wider aperture, and if you're doing multiple images at once, try to keep your color temperatures the same. So for this I'm going to keep it at what it's at, so it's 3100 for blue or yellow, and then the tint is at plus 10. Now in order to apply that to all the other images, using Lightroom 3, I'm not sure how it is in aperture, but there's probably a similar way to do it. Go into settings, copy settings, and only check white balance and press copy. Then essentially slide over all the pictures that you want, including the one that you copied. Go to settings again, sync settings, again only white balance checked, synchronize. And that'll change the others, as you can see, to the same white balance. And this is really very, very useful because if you open Photoshop and use the color balance tools, which I strongly suggest because they're much more in-depth than Lightroom, or I've never used Aperture, but I'm guessing more in-depth than Apertures. If you have all the same white balance, if you find a certain color tone editing source that you like particularly more than others, then you can copy that down, and it's sort of like a recipe, so you can use it on all the photos with the same white balance and similar exposures. So just to quicken your processing, quicken your workflow, that's a very helpful tool. Then from here I pretty much try to get the exposure to where I like it. As it was shot, honestly, I was pretty happy. I brought the shadows, I deepened the shadows, as you can tell, and then the lights. Here, I'll try to show you. This was the image before. So, yeah, deepen the shadows a bit, push the highs, and the highlights even more. The highlights, if you push it, it'll get that lightning to stand out, etc. And it's a little grainy, but don't really worry about that too much. Again, you can run noise reduction on Lightroom or Photoshop. It really doesn't matter. If you have I'm just going to go through the tools real quick here. So exposure, obviously that's easy, darken or lighten. And as you can see right here, it gives you a number. Plus is obviously up one stop, and then minus, that would be down one stop of light from where you shot it. Generally you don't want to push much more than one stop in either direction. If you're shooting raw, you have a little more leeway, and the better your exposure, the more you can push it. Again, the lower your ISO speed, the more you can push it. But generally you don't want to push it that much. Fill light will kind of get those medium tones. If this is really useful if you're shooting portraits during the day with all natural light. Sometimes the shadows will be really deep on the face, which you don't like, so you can push the fill light a lot. Recovery is for your bright whites. So I'll look here. As you can see, if you highlight over this little arrow up on the histogram, you can see that what's in red is clipping, as we call it, that is pure white, to the point where there's no more pixel detail. The other side is pure black, to where there's no pixel detail. Black is a little better than white. So if there's too much white, which right now it's fine, but if there's too much in your image, if you dial the recovery up, you don't want to do it that much, but just that much helped a little bit, and we'll do a little more. And you can see the red going away a little bit. Personally, this image does not need it. So, and when you go on brightness contrast, honestly, don't use these. Oh, I forgot. Here's blacks. Depending your camera profile, it depends where this will be. Mine has it going to 5. Little changes in this can do a lot, so kind of just play with that. Brightness contrast, honestly, ignore them. Presence, you can do clarity. Clarity can be a really good one. Never go down in clarity. A lot of people edit skin like this and it just looks like crap. If you go up in clarity, it can depend on your image. If you have a lot of bokeh or out of focus areas due to a shallow depth of field, clarity can kind of mess with the blur, so keep an eye out for that. And it can also add noise, if you can see. I hope you can see that a little, but it'll also pop out your edges quite a bit, so it's a very helpful tool. Vibrance, I don't really use this that much, but it kind of makes the colors pop more. Honestly, the only way I use vibrance is if I want it to go down to kind of make it less saturated. Saturation obviously is the amount of color. Vibrance and saturation are pretty similar. I'm sure there's color theory experts that can tell you exactly what they do, but just play around with it. Honestly, I don't use them that much. Now, the tone curve, this is essentially what you're doing up here with exposure, recovery, fill light, and blacks. This is a little more fine-tuned. So your lights and darks, those will be kind of your fill light. Highlights will be your recovery area. Shadows will be your blacks. That's really all I use. Detail you can sharpen. I don't suggest it on this. I mean, you can. I don't use it. Noise reduction, color noise reduction, obviously. That won't hurt anything. Careful with luminance noise reduction because that can soften the image quite a bit. Lens corrections, I don't really use. Yeah, but essentially all this will do is do different types of distortion as to correct for your camera or lens combination. You can use that with fisheyes. You can get some effects with it. I don't really use it. Sorry, I can't tell you much about that. Lens vignetting, excuse me, you can use, again, I don't really add that much fake vignette on my images. Chromatic aberration, if you have really a lot of color fringing, just go down to defringe, click highlight edges or all edges, either will do good work. Then again, more effects, which grain, which I don't suggest doing it in here because you're damaging pixels. I suggest doing that in Photoshop if you have the capabilities. Camera calibration, whoops, that was my phone. Sorry about that. Camera calibration, you don't really need to use that much. Essentially, you're just kind of changing the hue. So this is really what I do in Photoshop. So you don't, I guess you can do it a little bit here. I suggest it in Photoshop. So yeah, that's pretty much what I do. There's different view modes. You can fill, fit, 1:1, which is pixel for pixel, 1/4. I usually use fit unless I need to see sharpness or the noise level, etc. So yeah, always look at your histogram. Depending the image, obviously this is going to be a dark image, so it's going to be on the left. If your image is kind of medium exposure, you want it to be closer to the middle, kind of the bell curve. And if it's a lot of highlights, you want it to be in the right 2 boxes. Generally, overexposing is better with your images, and you can always bring it down in post using the exposure or the tone curves. As for that, you can just go to your library. You can view images that way. It's got a pretty good archive system. Can't complain. Again, I use Photoshop for my more intense editing, but I'll always use Lightroom beforehand. So I'm going to stop this video now before I run out of time, and the next one will be basics of Photoshop. Thanks for watching. Please comment, post any videos that you want to see how to do, and if I know how to do it, I will gladly help you and make a tutorial for you. So rate, comment, subscribe. Please, please, please comment. Always looking for new videos to make. Thanks.